You ever get hit with a scent that punches you straight in the gut? Yeah, that's what happened the night my wife came home from her so-called inventory shift. She kicked off her sneakers, stretched like a cat, and flopped on the couch, reeking of drugstore cologne and guilt. The kind of smell that doesn't belong in a fluorescent-lit hardware store. Not unless they started selling knockoff body spray next to the plumbing sealant aisle. Long night, I asked, keeping my tone casual, like I hadn't just inhaled pure betrayal. She yawned. Took forever to count the ratchet straps. Sure it did, sweetheart. Sure it did. That was the first red flag, the cologne. Second came about 20 minutes later when I was throwing her uniform in the wash. I turned her apron over, and a folded slip of receipt paper fluttered out of the chest pocket. I probably should have left it alone. Probably should have minded my own business and gone back to watching reruns of Cops like a good little husband. But curiosity's a hell of a drug. The note read, in loopy, overconfident handwriting. Loved watching you bend over in aisle 6. See black heart. I stared at that little heart like it was a loaded gun. And then, here's the real kicker, I laughed. Not because it was funny. It wasn't. But because I knew exactly who C was. That would be Caleb, the 26-year-old part-time register jockey with the emotional depth of a soup spoon and the muscle tone of a wet sock. My wife, Erica, was 10 years older than him. She trained him, coached him, covered for him when he showed up late. Told me he was like a little brother. Yeah, that one. So here I am, standing in the laundry room, holding the kind of note high schoolers pass in class, trying not to let the bile crawl up my throat. I didn't say anything that night, or the night after, or the week after that. Instead, I waited. See, you don't get to be assistant manager at Bill's Hardware Emporium without learning a few things about people. Like how they act when they're guilty, how they over-explain, how they forget what lies they've told, and how they get sloppy. Erica started closing with Caleb every Thursday. Always Thursday. She said it was just the schedule. Funny thing, though, the schedule didn't used to have them paired. That changed about 2 months ago, right around the time our conversations at home got shorter. Our intimacy life turned into a roommate handshake, and she started showering after work, not before. But the note, that was the dumbest mistake of all. Like leaving a business card at the scene of a hit and run. So I went to work. Quietly. Every Thursday, I stayed late at the store, pretending to do inventory audits in the back. Nobody questioned it. Assistant managers do boring stuff all the time. What they didn't know was that I started counting each drawer. Specifically, Erica's. We run cash registers the old-school way, no fancy digital tracking. Just good old pen, paper, and human error. Perfect conditions for something shady to slip by unnoticed. But not past me. Week 1. Erica's till came up $48 short. Could have been a miscount. Week 2, $51. Week 3, $47. You seeing the pattern yet? I was. She and Caleb were skimming. Probably pocketing bills, splitting them, and thinking they were criminal masterminds because they didn't get caught by the night manager, who spends most evenings scrolling Instagram in the break room and eating peanut butter with a spoon. It wasn't just the money. It was the arrogance. So I decided I'd give them a little taste of reality. I spent the next 3 weeks planning what I like to call the Audit Day Massacre. Step 1. Set the trap. I submitted a tip to corporate, anonymously, claiming that there had been multiple discrepancies in drawer counts on Thursday evenings. Nothing specific. Just enough to get the gears turning. Corporate loves sniffing out fraud. It gives the suits something to do besides ruin holiday parties. Step 2. Arrange the stage. I told Erica I was taking Friday off. Need a mental health day? I said. Too much stress from the mulch shipment mess. She nodded like she cared. Didn't even ask what I'd be doing. Probably made it easier to pencil in a little post-shift motel time with Caleb. Step 3. Load the gun. I showed up Thursday evening, clipboard in hand, all smiles. Told everyone corporate was running surprise regional audits, and that they wanted a few random drawers counted live. Everyone panicked, except Erica and Caleb. They looked at each other across the store like two cats caught halfway up the Christmas tree. Oh, it's just routine, I said cheerfully. I'll handle your tills personally, Erica. Caleb, go help Reggie unload freight. I watched her hands shake as she keyed out her final transaction. Watched her eyes flick to the register like it might betray her. It already had. I counted it right there at the counter. Took my sweet time. I said aloud, thumbing through the 20s. That's strange. She stiffened. What? Drawers off, I said. Buy, $142. Wow, what? That can't be right. I counted it twice. I believe you, I said, with just enough fake empathy to make it sting. But corporate might not. Cue the suits. They were already waiting in the back room. I gave them the green light, and they came out with badges and clipboards, looking like disappointed tax auditors at a bake sale. Erica turned pale. Caleb saw them and bolted to the restroom, probably to hyperventilate or call his mom. They pulled her aside, asked questions, pulled printouts, compared logs. By the time they were done, she was crying into her palms and begging for a second chance. They gave her a box for her stuff instead. Caleb? No one's seen him since. I stood in the parking lot as she walked out, her face red and splotchy, carrying a shoebox full of shame. She looked at me like I was supposed to do something. Help her, comfort her, be the dumb husband who takes her back. I waved, and that should have been the end of it. But it wasn't. Turns out, when you fire someone for theft, it doesn't just end with cardboard boxes and parking lot tears. Not in a town this small. Not when the town gossip page on Facebook updates faster than the weather. By 10 a.m. the next day, there were already whispers. I heard them from the counter at Kenny's Diner while sipping burnt coffee and pretending to read the classifieds. Erica, that pretty one from Bill's. Yeah, caught stealing. Shame. She always seemed so polite. You know, my cousin worked with her once, said she flirted with every guy under 40. Small towns eat scandals like that for breakfast. One day you're bagging screws for Mrs. Patterson's lawn project. The next day you're a local legend with a rumor mill hot enough to grill a steak on. But I didn't say a word. Didn't correct anyone. Didn't even smile. Because that would ruin it. And I wasn't finished yet. Erica didn't come home that night. No call. No text. Just the echo of a slammed door from the day before and the slow realization that our house had never been so quiet. I ate dinner alone. Leftover meatloaf, if you're curious, and went to bed feeling exactly nothing. Let me tell you, nothing feels amazing after weeks of pretending everything's fine. But here's where it gets interesting. 2 days later, she called me. Not from her phone. I'd blocked that. She called from a blocked number, which I only picked up because I thought it might be a vendor calling about the wrong brand of deck screws. Hey, she said, her voice hoarse. It's me. No apology. No remorse. Just, it's me. Like she'd gone on a weekend retreat and forgot her phone charger. I didn't answer. Just listened to her breathing through the silence like she was revving up to perform. Can I come by? I need to talk. It's important. I waited 3 seconds longer than necessary, then hung up. Call me petty. I don't care. That was for the cologne. That was for C. Blackheart. She left 3 voicemails that night. One crying, one angry, and one that ended with a long, quiet pause before the beep. It was the pause that stuck with me, like she finally ran out of things to lie about. Anyway, life moved on. Work felt lighter. I was still assistant manager, but without the awkward tension of pretending not to know my wife was slow dancing with the stock boy behind aisle 6. I even started enjoying inventory days again. But then came the letter. Handwritten. No return address. Just my name on the envelope and a small sticker seal. A rose, faded and peeling. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Lined notebook paper, the kind you tear from a high school binder. He's gone. He used my info to open a credit card and skip town. He drained my account. I don't know where he is. I think he changed his name. I have nothing left. I should have listened to you. Please. Please call me. I read it twice, maybe 3 times. Then folded it back up and set it on the coffee table like it was a napkin someone had sneezed into. She thought I didn't know. Thought I didn't realize Caleb's real name wasn't Caleb at all. Thought I didn't notice the way he kept asking about store Wi-Fi, forgot his wallet at lunch, or slipped off during breaks with her purse under his arm to get snacks. Erica was never the smart one between us. Not when it came to people. She fell for a guy who wore flip-flops to work and used phrases like legit bro, and somehow thought that was an upgrade for me. But here's the real twist, and I need you to really understand the weight of what I'm about to say. There was no Caleb. Not the way she thought. Yeah, someone named Caleb worked at Bill's for a few months. But he didn't write those notes. Didn't flirt. Didn't seduce. I did. Every note. My handwriting. I faked the heart. Took pictures of the apron. Slipped the paper in. Watched her face the first time she found one and tucked it in her purse like a middle school crush. Every flirtatious comment. I fed them to Caleb as jokes on slow days. Say this next time, man. She'll think it's hilarious. He was too dumb to realize I was scripting his downfall, and too smitten with attention to question why the assistant manager was suddenly his personal Cyrano. And the drawer shortages? I pulled the cash myself, slipped it from her till while she was restocking paint chips, left the change so it wouldn't trigger suspicion too early, tracked the pattern, built the case, gave just enough rope. You have no idea how easy it is to ruin someone who's already halfway to hell. But I wasn't cruel. Not really. I didn't ruin her life. I just opened the door and watched her run headfirst into it. What she did with Caleb afterward, that was all her. The real guy, whose name wasn't Caleb at all, was a drifting temp from another store. Disappeared a week after she got fired. Apparently, he really did steal her identity. I guess I underestimated him. Or maybe I just inspired him. Either way, the poetic part? She picked him over me. She picked the version of C I invented. A fantasy. A clumsy, cologne-drenched fantasy with just enough charm to feel dangerous, but not enough sense to fill out a W too correctly. And she paid the price. Last week, she showed up at my door. Hair messy, eyes puffy, holding a thick manila envelope full of bank statements and court letters. I didn't open the door. Just stood on the other side, listening to her sob. You win, she said. You win, okay? You'd think I'd feel something. Relief. Sadness. Maybe pity. But I didn't. I felt clean, like I'd finally vacuumed up the last piece of broken glass from the floor and could stop walking around barefoot. I never opened that envelope. Don't care what was inside. Probably debt. Maybe a restraining order against the ghost of C. But I did leave her with one last message. Next morning, she found a note tucked under her windshield wiper. Loved watching you fall apart. See, black heart. Just like old times. It's a strange thing, watching someone hit rock bottom from your porch window. Especially when it's someone you used to share a bed with. Erica stood out there for almost 20 minutes after finding my little love note under her windshield wiper. I saw her read it. Twice. She even turned it over like maybe there'd be more on the back. Nope. Just the one line. Loved watching you fall apart. See, black heart. She stared at it the way you stare at a check you know is going to bounce. Then she crumpled it in her fist and let out this half-laugh, half-scream kind of sound that probably made the neighbors think she was choking on a bee. She didn't knock, didn't shout, just got in her car and peeled off down the street like a high school burnout trying to impress prom dates with his muffler. I didn't follow, didn't text. I went back to watching TV. One of those game shows where people pretend they know trivia until the money gets high enough to expose their stupidity. Felt appropriate. That weekend, I ran into her cousin at the farmer's market. Small town, like I said. You can't even buy overpriced peaches without running into someone who's seen your wedding album. Her cousin, Janine, was one of those tight-lipped women who always smiled too hard and asked questions she already knew the answers to. Well, she said, pushing her sunglasses up. Look who's shopping solo these days. I smiled back. Divorce is great for the grocery bill. She fake laughed. She's not doing well. You know. Who? Don't play dumb, she said, picking up a tomato and squeezing it like she wanted it to confess something. Erica. She's staying at her sister's now. Says she can't sleep. Keeps thinking people are following her. Maybe they are, I said. She owes half the county money by now. Janine's smile faded just a bit. You really don't care anymore, do you? I shrugged. Did she care when she was getting felled up behind the caulking display? That shut her up. For the next few weeks, things were quiet. Too quiet. Like that part of the movie where you think the killer's dead, but the music hasn't started playing yet. I figured maybe she'd finally packed up and left town. Or crawled back to whatever version of Caleb she could find on a dating app that didn't require background checks. But then came the text. Block number, again. I didn't even realize it at first. Figured it was a scammer or one of those political bots asking if I planned to vote for someone I've never heard of. The message just said, please, just meet me once. In public. I need to say this to your face. Normally, I'd have deleted it. But something about the wording caught me. In public. That meant she was afraid I'd make a scene. Which was hilarious, considering I'd gone completely silent for the last 2 months while her life turned into a bonfire made of bank statements and bounced checks. So I replied, coffee, Tuesday, 10 a.m., lobby of the county library. Nothing romantic. Nothing warm. Just the kind of place where you could whisper without anyone caring. She showed up early. Of course she did. I walked in 5 minutes late, and found her already sitting there with 2 coffees, both black. I hate black coffee. She knew that. I figured it was a power move or a sad attempt to look like she remembered something. She looked smaller. Not physically, just worn. Like someone had been rinsing her soul in hot water and wringing it out for fun. "Thanks for coming," she said quietly, eyes darting around the lobby like she expected me to flip the table. I sat down. Didn't touch the coffee. "I know you probably hate me," she said. I raised an eyebrow. "Probably." That earned me a faint smile. Not a good one. The kind of smile you give a dog right before it bites you. "Look," she said. "I've made mistakes." "Mistakes," I repeated, nodding. Like setting your hair on fire is a mistake. Like buying the wrong size battery. Having intimacy with someone named after a biblical murderer while skimming cash from your job? That's a little past mistakes. She flinched, but didn't argue. "I just need you to know," she said, voice cracking. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. I didn't know he'd use me. I thought he cared. Didn't we all?" I muttered. She leaned forward, desperate now. "I lost everything. My job. My credit. My name. He opened accounts in my name. He wiped my savings. He even took my grandmother's ring. I'm being sued by 3 different companies I've never heard of. I'm probably going to lose my car next week." I stared at her deadpan. Should have picked a better ride or die. Silence stretched between us like a funeral song. Then she whispered, "Was it you?" I blinked. "Was what me?" She licked her lips, suddenly unsure. "The notes. The setup. The drawer thing. Was it you?" I tilted my head like I was confused. Like I didn't know exactly what she meant. I didn't give her the satisfaction of a nod or denial. Just held eye contact long enough to watch her soul collapse in on itself. She looked down. "I thought so. I couldn't prove it. But the way it all lined up. And that last note." I said nothing. "What do you want from me?" she asked, barely audible. It was the first honest question she'd asked in years. I stood up, picked up the coffee she'd brought me, and walked over to the trash. Tossed it in without breaking stride. Turned back to her and said, "I already got it." Then I left. But that's not the end. No, Erica didn't disappear like a ghost. She doubled down. A week after that meeting, she showed up again. This time at the store. In front of customers. It was a Saturday morning. Sunny. Birds chirping. The usual crowd of DIY dads and bored retirees wandering around pretending they knew how to fix their gutters. I was helping a guy with paint samples when I heard her voice at the front desk. "I need to speak with the manager," she said, loud enough for half the store to hear. "Linda, our new cashier, radioed me. Your ex-wife's here. And she looks upset." I sighed. Told the customer I'd be right back. Walked to the front like I was heading into a courtroom. There she was. Hair brushed, makeup on. Face polished with just enough desperation to look like sincerity. "I just want 5 minutes," she said, loud again. Just 5. Customers started pretending to browse the clearance bins nearby. Classic small-town tactic. Be near the drama, but don't get caught watching the drama. "You want to do this here?" I asked quietly. She nodded. So I stepped aside and gestured toward the break room door. "Fine. Let's make it official." We walked in. I didn't offer her a chair. She didn't sit. "I'm getting sued by Chase Bank," she started. "And Capital One. And some third-party loan company out of Michigan that says I took out 10 grand for home solar upgrades. My credit score is a disaster. I can't get an apartment. I can't open a checking account. I can't even. What do you want me to do?" I asked. She looked at me like I'd kicked her dog. I just want help," she said. "Please. I know I don't deserve it. But you're the only one left who knows me." "No," I said. "No what?" "No, I don't know you." Then I opened the break room door and walked out. Left her standing there. She followed a minute later, face red, eyes wet, trying to keep her dignity like it wasn't already 3 feet behind her dragging through the dirt. Linda didn't ask any questions. Neither did the customers. But one of them, old man Stan from aisle 3, looked at me on the way out and said, "Good for you, son. Damn good for you." I didn't smile, but I think part of me wanted to. You ever notice how desperation has a smell? Not fear. Fear is quick, acidic. Desperation lingers. It's like rotting fruit and perfume samples from a department store that's going out of business. That's what Erica smelled like the next time I saw her. She didn't show up at my door again. I think even she knew that bridge had not only burned. I'd salted the ground underneath it and turned the ashes into cement. No, this time she tried a different tactic. Church. I hadn't been to Sunday service in over a year. My version of faith got pretty streamlined after everything went down. Forgive me, Lord, but I'm going to handle this one myself. But I'd made a quiet promise to my mother to show up at least once every couple months, and it was one of those weeks. So I ironed a shirt, shaved, and showed up at First United Baptist right on time, ready for hymns, small talk, and an hour of thinking about anything except whatever the preacher was rambling about. I found my usual pew near the back, third row from the door, where you can leave without too many people noticing. I sat, nodded politely to Mrs. Winslow on my left, and reached for the hymnal. And that's when I smelled it. Cheap floral perfume. The kind Erica always wore when she wanted people to think she was fancier than she really was. Light enough to pass in close quarters, strong enough to punch you in the nostrils if you got too close. She slid into the pew beside me without a word. I didn't look at her, didn't speak, just kept my eyes on the pulpit like I was hypnotized by the church bulletin. "Hi," she whispered. "I didn't think you'd come." I said nothing. "I just wanted to see you," she said. "I've been praying." I turned my head slowly. Not all the way, just enough to give her the side eye of doom. "Praying for forgiveness?" She flinched. "Praying for help. Same thing to you, isn't it?" Her jaw tightened. "You don't have to keep punishing me." "I'm not," I said. "That's the best part. I haven't done a damn thing since you imploded. I just lit the first match and watched the rest fall like dominoes." "Why?" she asked. "Why would you?" The pastor stepped up to the podium. "Let us pray." I bowed my head and said the first real prayer I'd uttered in months. "Lord, please don't let me punch this woman in front of 80 senior citizens." After the service, I walked out without looking at her. She followed. "I just want to talk," she said, trying to keep pace as I moved toward the parking lot. "You had years to talk," I said. "You spent them lying." She stopped walking. "What do you want from me? Blood? A confession? I'll do it. I'll go to the police and say I took the money. I'll admit I let him in. I'll say anything if it means you'll just stop." Now, that was interesting. "Say that again," I said, turning around. She blinked. I said I'll confess. I'll admit what I did. "To who?" "To whoever you want. Even if it means going on record?" She hesitated. "I guess. Yes." There was a pause then, the kind that makes your ears ring. And in that pause, I saw something flicker across her face. Hope. It made me sick. She thought she was earning my trust back. Thought that one public grovel could rewind the tape. Classic narcissist logic, that if you just look sorry enough, people forget why they hated you. I didn't respond, just nodded and turned toward my truck. She didn't follow. The next morning, she tried again. This time, she sent a letter, a real one, to the store. Not to me, addressed to the owner. Inside was a full confession. Said she'd participated in petty cash theft. Said she took responsibility for every dollar. That Caleb, or whatever the hell his name was, had nothing to do with it, and that the register discrepancies were entirely her fault. She asked that the store clear Caleb's name and consider hiring him back. I read it in the back office while eating a granola bar. Then I forwarded it to our regional manager, added a note at the top that said "for your files," and left it at that. Erica had no idea Caleb didn't exist in the way she thought he did. She'd written a confession trying to cover for a guy who wasn't even real. A guy she built in her head off a couple suggestive jokes and a fantasy. I fed her one note at a time. And now that fantasy was going to be notarized. The store didn't pursue charges. They didn't want the hassle. But they did forward the letter to HR, and HR, being the bureaucratic hammer it is, placed her on a do not rehire blacklist that got shared across 6 counties. One letter, sealed and signed. Just enough to make sure her next application hit the shredder before it reached anyone with a working phone. A few days later, I saw her working the drive-thru at Quick Burger on Route 12. She didn't see me at first. I was 2 cars back. I could hear her voice over the intercom, though. Polite, clipped, dead. When I pulled up to the window, she froze. I smiled. "Hey there," I said. "Long time." She looked like she wanted to crawl through the fryer. "Your total's $7.84, she mumbled. I handed her a 10. "Keep the change. Looks like you could use it." She didn't say a word. Just handed me a greasy paper bag and shut the window without looking up. I drove off feeling something I hadn't in a while. Peace. Maybe. Closure? Not quite. But there was something poetic about watching her wear a polyester visor while handing out cold fries to the same town she used to strut through like a queen. She tried one last time after that. This time, she didn't come in person. Didn't send a letter. She posted. Online. Facebook, of all places. A long, rambling status update. Half apology, half manifesto, where she confessed to the theft, claimed mental health struggles, said she was manipulated, broken, vulnerable, blah blah blah. The part that really stuck out though? She tagged me. Just my name. No comment. No context. Half the town saw it. Half of that half messaged me within the hour. You okay, man? Are you gonna say something? Is it true? I didn't respond to a single one. Instead, I posted one thing. Just one. It was a photo of the crumpled note I'd kept, the original sea black heart gem she left in her apron pocket all those months ago. No caption, no tag, no explanation. Just the note. Let the town do what it does best. 3 hours later, her post was gone. Deleted. Vanished like her reputation. That's when I knew it was finally over. Or so I thought. Because a few days later, I got a knock at my door. Not Erica. Not the law. Someone else. Someone I hadn't seen in years. You know that feeling when someone knocks on your door and you just know it's not Amazon? Yeah, that knock came on a Thursday. Early. Not morning coffee early. Calculated early. 8:12 a.m. sharp. Right between brushing my teeth and buttoning my shirt for work. 3 knocks. Firm. Paused. Then 2 more. People who knock like that either want to sell you something or destroy your life. I opened the door. There stood a woman in her late 50s. Pale, overdressed for the season, blouse tucked too tightly, hair pulled back like she was trying to win a corporate interview she wasn't invited to. She wore worry like perfume. Strong. Cheap. Desperate. Are you Brian? She asked. That's my name. But it didn't come out of my mouth right away. I just gave her the look. I knew it was you, she said before I could confirm or deny. I've seen your picture. Now we were into weird territory. She held out a manila envelope like it was radioactive. Her fingers were trembling. I'm his mother, she said. Caleb. The real Caleb. Now that made me pause. The name didn't land with the punch she expected, though. It bounced off me like a sponge against a brick wall. Come again. She pulled the envelope back to her chest like I was going to snatch it and light it on fire. I don't know what he told you, she said. Or what she told you. But he's missing. He hasn't answered his phone in weeks. I've gone to his apartment. His work. He's gone. Now, see, this is where life loves to get clever. Because I had built Caleb as a character. A fictional misdirection. A tool to guide Erica down the primrose path of self-destruction. But there had been a real part-timer at the store named Caleb. Real guy. Real body. Real social security number. He just hadn't been the one doing all the seduction. But this woman wasn't talking about my puppet. No, she was talking about the con man. The real C. The guy who vanished with Erica's identity, wiped her bank account, and apparently left a trail long enough for Mom to follow to my door. He told me you were friends, she said. That you worked together. That you knew Erica. My mind started drawing lines faster than I could process them. This woman wasn't here for vengeance. She was here for answers. I don't know what you think I know, I said, but she shoved the envelope into my hands. Just read it, please. Then she turned and walked away like she'd rehearsed the whole scene in front of a mirror 3 times that morning. I stood there with the envelope in my hands like it was ticking. Eventually, I opened it. Inside, a printout of an email. A few screenshots of text messages. A photo, low-res and blurry, of a guy I'd seen exactly once, maybe twice, in the break room. And a note scrawled in blue ink across the bottom. I know she's involved. Please help me find him. Marjorie. I read it all twice. Then again. Nothing new. Nothing helpful. The messages were vague. Lots of, I'll meet you at the place, and don't forget the envelope. Half of it sounded like 2 teenagers trying to talk dirty while doing a drug deal in Morse code. But then I saw it. One of the screenshots, the last one, was a photo. A picture of Erica, standing in front of a hotel. Laughing. Leaning against a man's chest. His face was turned, but his build was familiar. He was wearing a red hoodie. I remembered that hoodie. Saw it once in the stockroom. Folded neatly on top of a mop bucket like someone had changed shirts in a rush. It wasn't Caleb from the store. It was the other guy. The real one. The ghost. Suddenly, I had a new problem. See, I hadn't just ruined Erica's job. I hadn't just let her dig her own grave with lies and bank fraud. I'd created a character out of scraps and fed it into her bloodstream until she was addicted. But someone, this real C, had taken that fantasy and run with it. And now he was missing. which meant I was one police knock away from being in the middle of something way bigger than revenge. I called a friend, someone who owed me, used to do security work, got caught stealing liquor from a wedding venue, and now ran a mobile detailing business. Hey, I said, you still have access to DMV plates? You buying or looking? Looking. Got a plate number from a guest registry. I need an address. He whistled. Going dark, huh? Just a flashlight, I said. An hour later, I had the address. It was a basement apartment on the edge of town. Complex was half condemned. Mailboxes duct-taped shut. Kids' bikes rusted into the grass. I knocked twice, got no answer, then slid a note under the door. She's looking for you. You might want to leave town before she drags me into it. B. I left before anyone could look out a peephole. That night, I sat on my porch and stared at the sky. It was clear, quiet. A few stars hung overhead, like glitter someone forgot to clean up. I thought about what I'd done. I didn't feel guilty. Let's be clear on that. But I did feel something else. Not regret, more like irritation. I had built a trap for one person, and some opportunistic jackass had used it to disappear. Now his mother was knocking on my door like I had answers when all I ever had was intentions. And Erica? She was unraveling in public. 2 nights after the church stunt, she was arrested outside Miller's pub for shouting at a couple through the front window. Apparently, she thought the woman was stealing her face. I heard about it from 4 different people before it even made the local blotter. Mental breakdown, they said. She's lost it, said someone else. She used to be so poised, said another, as if cheating and theft came from poise. The pub released security footage. I saw it. She was screaming at the glass, pounding on the window like she was possessed, slurring words. Her hair looked like a bird's nest soaked in gin. Cops showed up, tried to talk her down. She spit at one of them and got cuffed face down on the hood of a patrol car. That video went semi-viral. 20,000 views in 2 days. The thumbnail alone looked like a mugshot someone took mid-exorcism. She made bail thanks to her sister, who apparently still hadn't figured out Erica's the kind of fire that spreads to your clothes while you're trying to smother it. But the damage was done. Whatever pity points she'd earned with her online confessional, gone. Whatever sympathy people might have had about her being used, vaporized. She was a headline now, a cautionary tale. And me? I was untouchable. Until I wasn't. Because the next day, I got a letter from a lawyer. Not Erica's. Not mine. A third party. It was a subpoena. Marjorie, the mother, had filed a missing persons report and named me as someone with relevant involvement and history regarding the subject. The subject being Caleb, aka the man who made off with Erica's identity, her pride, and possibly a stolen ring from some pawn shop in Akron. I called my lawyer, asked what it meant. Means you're a witness, he said. Not a suspect. Yet. That word sat in my stomach like a swallowed nail. So now the game was different. No longer revenge. No longer satisfaction. Now it was survival. If you've never had your name printed on legal paper, let me tell you, it's a hell of a thing. Seeing it right there, bolded in 12-point Times New Roman, tucked between words like testimony and involvement and subject of interest, makes you feel important in the worst possible way. Like you've been invited to a funeral where you might be the body. So yeah, the subpoena came. Erica's mess had officially bled into my backyard. And now I had to sit in a room, under fluorescent lighting, and talk to people who got paid to poke holes in stories for a living. Marjorie, the woman who called herself Caleb's mom, though I was still only 80% convinced she wasn't running some long con herself, had filed a formal missing persons case. And apparently, she'd told investigators that I orchestrated something with Caleb. She wasn't completely wrong, just off by about 100 degrees and one existential identity collapse. My lawyer, a guy named Joe who looked like someone had poured expired milk into a cheap suit, sat beside me during the deposition like a guy babysitting a bomb with no wire cutters. They asked questions. I answered. Yes, I knew Erica. Yes, we were married. No, not anymore. Yes, we worked together. Yes, there was an employee named Caleb who worked part-time. No, I didn't know his last name. Yes, I had reason to believe Erica was involved in petty cash theft. Yes, I filed an anonymous tip to corporate. No, I didn't know where Caleb went after she got fired. Yes, I saw him once, maybe twice, in the break room. Couldn't pick him out of a lineup. That last part was a lie. I could have picked him out of a lineup, a yearbook, and an oil painting. I'd watched the guy like a hawk for weeks. Watched him flirt. Watched Erica eat it up. Watched her do the math and somehow come up with him as the answer. But I wasn't there to provide poetry. I was there to survive. They let me go after an hour. No handcuffs. No accusations. Just the kind of polite thank you that tastes like spoiled milk. Joe patted my back on the way out. You did good. Don't post anything dumb online for a while. That's lawyer speak for don't light any more fires while we're putting this one out. Fine by me. I'd already torched the whole forest. But the fire wasn't done. That night, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. We need to talk. I know what you did. No name. No emoji. Just that. I stared at it for a full minute. I could feel my pulse in my ears. Not panic. Just that old familiar tingle. The kind you get right before you stick your hand in a beehive just to see what happens. I wrote back. Get in line. No reply. Next morning, I found an envelope taped to the hood of my truck. Inside, a photo of me, sitting in my living room, lights off, beer in hand, taken through the window. And another note. You didn't just ruin her. You made him disappear. Now it's your turn. I won't lie. That one hit different. Because up until now, I'd been in control. Erica was a chaos magnet, sure, but I'd stayed 10 moves ahead. I built the chessboard. She just knocked over the pieces. But this felt like someone else had picked up the controller. I didn't call the cops. That's not how I play. Instead, I dug out my old stash, burner phone, prepaid Visa, duplicate ID I kept from my bartending days when I used to skip town on weekends just for the hell of it. You keep certain things when you grow up with liars. You learn how to vanish if you have to. Then I made one call. Not to Joe. Not to my sister. Not to the cops. I called Erica. She picked up on the Thoid ring. I heard traffic in the background. Birds. Wind. You finally ready to say sorry? She said, voice brittle. I need to know something, I said. You gave him my name, didn't you? She went silent. You told him who I was, I said. When you two were thick as thieves. You told him what I did. The setup. The drawer trick. Everything. She didn't deny it. I thought he'd find it funny, she said finally. He liked what you did. Liked it enough to fake being you. She was quiet again. I could hear her breathing. Then she whispered something I didn't catch. What? I said I thought he was you, she repeated. At first. The notes. The compliments. The handwriting. I thought you were playing a game. There it was. The dumbest twist in the whole story. The one I never saw coming. She thought I was Caleb. Not in the literal sense. Not that I wore a wig and worked the register. But in the sense that she believed I was the one leaving those flirty notes as some kind of twisted rekindling gesture. I'd built the trap so well, even the target thought it was a gift. So you leaned in, I said. Let yourself believe the fantasy. I didn't know he was dangerous, she said. He made me feel seen. He made you feel like someone else. Because you hated being you. She didn't reply. Where is he, Erica? I don't know, she said. I swear. He said he was leaving town. Said it was getting too hot. That someone was watching him. Who? You. That made me laugh. Cold and sharp. I was the one being watched now. After we hung up, I drove. Not to the cops. Not to his last known address. I went to the storage unit. See, months ago, when I was first plotting everything, before the drawer audits, before the staged firing, I had backed up every note, every receipt, every register log. I even printed screenshots of Erica's texts where she mentioned Caleb, just in case the game ever stopped being mine. Now it was time to use them. I boxed them up, printed a letter, addressed it to the county sheriff with a little note that said, for when someone asks how it started, the real story. B. I didn't drop it off. I had it mailed anonymously. Then I drove home, parked, sat on the porch, and waited. The knock came at midnight. I was ready. He wasn't. He looked different, hoodie gone, hair buzzed short, face thinner. But the eyes were the same. You, Brian? Depends who's asking. He looked around, like he expected backup. I just want to talk, he said. Then sit. He did. We stared at each other for a long time. Then he said, she told me everything. She tells a lot of people everything. I said, she said you were clever. But cruel. She's half right. He looked down. She said you set her up. That you ruined her on purpose. For a note. I laughed. It wasn't about the note, I said. It was about the lie. The moment she thought I was stupid enough to miss it. He nodded. I liked her, he said. I bet. But you, he paused. You scared her. I was supposed to. He stood up. Don't come looking for me, he said. I won't. I mean it. So do I. He left. No threats. No fists. Just that strange, ghostly sense of two men standing on opposite sides of a mirror, both wondering who broke it first. I haven't seen him since. The letter made it to the sheriff a week later. I know because they called me, just to ask if I wanted it returned. I said no. Keep it. File it under poetic justice. Erica moved out of state. Last I heard, she's working part-time at a vet clinic and sleeping on her sister's couch. Credit scores still fried. Name still dirt. Me? I still work at the store. Still count drawers. Still wait for someone else to try me. Because now they all know. I don't get even. I get ready. And when I'm ready, I write notes. One-liners. Signed with a heart. Just like always. See Black Heart. Subscribe to the channel